Why are soap bubbles round? Have you ever stopped to observe a soap bubble floating in the air? They are fascinating, light, colorful, and, above all, perfectly round. But why do bubbles take on this shape? Could they be square, triangular, or even star-shaped? To answer this question, we need to dive into a world where physics and chemistry meet in a surprising way. What is a soap bubble? Before understanding the shape, let's think about what exactly a soap bubble is. A bubble is nothing more than a thin film of water mixed with soap that surrounds a quantity of air. Imagine a super delicate sandwich. Instead of bread, we have two layers of soap molecules, and between them, a very thin layer of water. But what prevents this fragile structure from simply collapsing? The secret lies in surface tension. Surface tension, the great secret of bubbles. Surface tension is a force that exists on the surface of liquids, caused by the attraction between molecules. In the case of pure water, this force is very strong because water molecules like to stay close together. That's why water forms droplets instead of spreading out on a surface, but water alone cannot form stable bubbles. What soap does is reduce this surface tension, making the film more flexible and elastic. Soap creates a kind of protective shield that allows the bubble to stretch without bursting immediately. Now, with an elastic film of water and soap, the question arises, why does this structure prefer to be round? The principle of the smallest area. Here comes a fundamental concept in physics, the principle of the smallest surface area. Nature loves to save energy, and in the case of bubbles, the spherical shape allows them to exist with the least possible energy expenditure. Think of a balloon filled with air. When you inflate it, the air inside pushes the walls outward, while the balloon material tries to resist. In the case of a soap bubble, the film wants to shrink to reduce its area, but the air inside is trying to push outward. The perfect balance between these forces creates a sphere, because a sphere is the shape that can contain the largest volume of air with the smallest possible surface area. It's as if the bubble is saying, I want to be as small as possible without crushing the air inside me, and the shape that solves this dilemma most efficiently. The sphere. What if we tried to make square bubbles? Now you might be wondering, but what if I blew a bubble inside a square mold? Would it keep that shape? Great question. Interestingly, if you create a wire structure in the shape of a cube, dip it in soapy water, and then blow a bubble in the center, what happens? The bubble still tries to be round, even with the square mold around it. It forms a sphere inside. What changes is the soap film on the wires, which creates incredible geometric patterns around the bubble. But the air inside continues to seek the most efficient shape, the round one. This happens because the forces of surface tension are acting equally in all directions, which only happens in a balanced way in a sphere. Shapes with right angles would create tension points that would make the bubble burst faster. The colors of bubbles, the effect of light. Now that we know why bubbles are round, let's talk about another fascinating detail, the iridescent colors that dance on their surface. Bubbles have no color of their own. What we see are reflections of light hitting the soap film. White light, like sunlight, is made up of various colors. When this light hits the bubble, part of it is reflected on the outer layer, and part passes through the film, also reflecting on the inner layer. The result: the two lights meet again and mix, creating what we call light interference. Depending on the thickness of the soap film, at that point, some colors are reinforced while others disappear. That's why the colors change as the bubble moves or as the film thins until it bursts. The end of the bubble. Why do they burst? If bubbles are so efficient and well constructed, why do they burst so easily? The answer lies in the very fragility of the water and soap film. The dry air around the bubble causes the water in the film to evaporate quickly. As the water layer becomes thinner, the bubble becomes unstable until it can no longer maintain the balance between internal pressure and surface tension, and puff, it bursts. Another factor is touch. When we touch a bubble with a dry finger, we absorb the moisture from the film, breaking its structure. But if you wet your finger with the same soapy water solution, you can touch the bubble without bursting it. This is because the moisture balance is not disturbed. Incredible facts about soap bubbles. Bubbles in space. Astronauts have conducted experiments with bubbles on the International Space Station. Without Earth's gravity, bubbles behave differently, floating as perfect spheres for much longer. Bubble records. The largest number of people inside a soap bubble was recorded, with 181 people. For this, a huge pool of soapy solution and a gigantic structure were used. Bubble science. Studying bubbles isn't just childhood fun. They help scientists understand complex phenomena, from industrial foam formation to biotechnology research. So, the next time you blow a soap bubble, remember, behind that floating, colorful sphere exists a world of science. The round shape is not just a coincidence. It's the result of nature's quest for perfect balance. A simple bubble teaches us about physics, chemistry, and even the beauty of simplicity. After all, who would have thought something so fragile could show us so much? Now, how about making your own bubbles and observing all these details up close? Who knows, maybe you'll discover something new while having fun. Did you find this explanation fascinating? Then don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And tell me in the comments, have you ever tried making giant bubbles or experimented with different shapes? I'd love to hear your stories.